Under the Grapevine, A Miracle by Saint Gendaeus of Cyprus by Chrissy Hart, illustrated by Claire Brandenburg, published by Concilia Press. This book is based on a true story about my grandmother that my mother used to tell me. Now I tell it to my children, and I want to share it with others, so they may learn about Saint Gendaeus. I hope you enjoy this story about the miracle that happened under the grapevine. Long ago, a young girl named Christina lived in the small village of Acna, on the island of Cyprus. Her father owned several farms. In the summer, Christina lived on one of his fruit farms with her parents and two older sisters. She loved the farm with its open spaces, animals, and many fruit trees. The farm grew peaches, apples, pears, and grapes. It also grew other unusual fruit like pomegranates and figs. Christina loved to eat them all. She especially liked to pick the fruit and feed the animals. On Sundays, Christina went to church with her mother and sisters. She loved to light a candle and kiss the icon of the Theotokos, the Mother of God. She felt special because her grandfather was the village priest. All the people in the village loved him, but were worried about him because he wasn't well. Then one day her grandfather died. Christina missed him terribly, but because she was young, she did not understand why he was gone. She believed he would come back again and hug her as he used to. When she was 3, Christina became so ill that she could not walk. Her parents took her to several doctors, but none could help her. Her mother was very sad and often cried quietly to herself. Each Sunday, Christina's mother went to church to light a candle and pray that her daughter would get well. While her parents worked on the farm, Christina also prayed. She prayed that her mother would stop being sad and that one day she would walk again. In the dry summer heat, Christina often lay under the grapevine with her cat Ellie. Christina watched the fluffy white clouds float across the blue sky. They looked like the animals on the farm. It was cool and comfortable under the shade of the grapevine. Christina noticed many things. She gazed at the windmill turning in the breeze and the lake next to it. She could see the stone oven near the farmhouse where her mother made bread. She could take a deep breath and smell the olive bread that was baking. After 2 years, Christina became even more ill and very thin. She lost her appetite and stopped eating. She was so weak she could not sit up. She always felt tired and sometimes slept most of the day. Sometimes she slept in the farmhouse. Other times she slept under the grapevine. Her parents were afraid she would die. Her mother prayed to Saint Gendaeus, a much-loved local saint, also known as the Wonder Worker. Christina's mother knew God worked through him and other saints to heal the sick. "Please hear my prayer and help our child get well," her mother prayed with all her heart and soul. "Lord Christ our God, Son of God, have mercy on us and save us. Mother of God, save us." Christina's mother prayed in the morning when she woke up. She prayed all day long while she worked on the farm. She also prayed at night before she went to sleep. One day, while Christina lay under the grapevine, she heard the sound of a horse approaching. As if in a dream, she saw an old man riding a white horse toward her. The horse and the man looked bright in the sunlight. The old man had a kind face and a long white beard. He reminded her of her grandfather. As he drew closer, Christina smelled jasmine. The smell was as strong as the smell of the holy incense at church. "What is wrong?" the grandfather asked her. His voice was soft and gentle. "I cannot walk," Christina answered. I will take you to my church and help you," the grandfather said with a smile. Although she did not know who the grandfather was, she felt safe with him. Time seemed to stop. He gently picked her up and placed her on his horse. No one seemed to know he was there. They rode through the countryside to a small cave near the village of Afgoru. The grandfather was silent as they rode. When they arrived, the grandfather took her into the cave. It was filled with icons and candles, and he gave her a drink of water from a holy spring. As she drank the holy water, her toes, feet, and legs tingled. He also gave her grapes from a nearby vine to eat. They tasted good and sweet. When she finished eating them, she felt stronger. The grandfather put her back on the white horse. They rode up the mountain to an old church at the top. There were many icons inside the church. Some of them looked as though they had been there a long time. The grandfather asked her to venerate the icons. Christina did this by blessing herself with the sign of the cross and kissing the icons. She said, "In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, Amen." The grandfather looked pleased. "Now let us return to the farm," he said. When they arrived at the farm, the grandfather said, "Bring your mother to my church this Sunday." "I will," Christina promised. The grandfather smiled. "Goodbye, my child. Now you are well, go to your parents." Christina thanked the kind grandfather for helping her and watched as he rode away. As soon as the grandfather left, Christina took her first steps in 2 years. She actually walked. Then she ran as fast as she could to her parents. She felt strong and well. There was no trace of weakness in her legs. Christina was filled with joy and excitement. Everybody's prayers had been answered. This was truly a miracle. "Look, Christina is walking!" her father yelled in astonishment. Her mother ran to her, tears rolling down her face. She threw her arms around Christina and picked her up. She was so happy to see her daughter walking that at first she was unable to speak. "I have something to tell you," Christina said when her mother released her, jumping up and down with excitement. She told them about her journey with the grandfather. "He said I should bring my mother to his church on Sunday," she added urgently. "I will go too," her father said. Even though time seemed to have stood still, something wonderful had taken place. When Christina described her mysterious journey, her parents knew exactly where the church was and where she had been. They asked many questions. Did the grandfather visit Christina in a dream, or did he come in person? Why hadn't anyone seen him? When had she gone? Perhaps they would never know, for such miracles cannot always be explained. And under the grapevine where Christina had been lying, a wonderful smell like jasmine remained. The same fragrance surrounded Christina. Surely this was a reminder of the grandfather's visit, for after a miracle a fragrance will often remain. The next Sunday, Christina kept her promise to the grandfather. She and her parents rode in a horse-drawn cart to the grandfather's church. Even though her parents had never taken her there before, she knew the way. When they arrived, Christina went into the small cave at the bottom of the mountain. "This is where the grandfather got water for me to drink," she said, pointing to a holy spring. "And this is where he picked grapes for me." She showed her parents a vine near the cave. They walked up the long mountain path to the church. Inside, Christina pointed to the icon of Saint Gandeus the Wonder Worker. "That is the grandfather who brought me here." "This is truly a miracle," her mother said as she fell to her knees and made the sign of the cross. Glory be to God. Her prayers had been answered with the help of Saint Gendaeus, who had lived in Cyprus a long, long time ago. He had surely prayed to God for her young daughter. He was like a bridge from heaven to earth, between them and the Father. "Why is it a miracle?" asked Christina. "Because the grandfather is Saint Gendaeus, and what happened to you came about through the power of God," replied her mother. "I will never forget Saint Gendaeus," her mother vowed. And she never did. When Christina grew up, she also celebrated Saint Gendaeus' feast day every year on October 6 by visiting his church and taking Gollifa and Brosfora. Many years passed. Christina married, had children, and later became a grandmother. She often took her grandchildren to Saint Gendaeus' church, where she told the story of the miracle that happened to her under the grapevine. You have been listening to Under the Grapevine, A Miracle by Saint Gendaeus of Cyprus by Chrissy Hart, illustrated by Claire Brandenburg, Concilia Press, on Ancient Faith Radio. The Boy, a Kitchen and His Cave by Catherine Gondopoulos, illustrated by Chrysanth Green-Gross, St. Vladimir's Seminary Press. Tucked away in the mountains of northern Greece was a remote and tiny village of farmers and shepherds, where there lived a young boy named Euphrosynos. His family was very poor and needed Euphrosynos and his older brother to work on their farm. Once they became old enough, the boys stopped going to school, and instead they shepherded sheep and goats, gathered olives from the trees, and planted tomatoes, eggplants, bell peppers, and green beans. Euphrosynos liked to help his mother bake bread. Euphrosynos did not mind not being able to go to school. He never found it easy to concentrate on his studies or understand what little he could read. And the other children teased him for always lagging behind and being unable to finish his homework. His brother patiently tutored him every evening, and Euphrosynos was grateful to him, but he still found it difficult to keep up. Euphrosynos' mother and father took the family to church every Sunday. Euphrosynos loved the hymns of the services, and over time he learned the words and the melodies and sang along with everyone else. And he sang while he worked in the fields. He could feel God was with him, watching over him while he worked long hours in the hot sun or in the cold rain and mud. These things he understood with his whole heart, and he was happy. One afternoon, Euphrosynos' father sent him into town to buy cheese as a special treat for dinner that evening. This was the first time that his father had given Euphrosynos the opportunity to run an errand in town. Usually his brother went, but today he was cleaning out the storage barrels for the olives and could not go. Euphrosynos was very excited about the prospect of doing something for his father in town on his own. "A pound of graviera, Euphrosynos," said his father, as he gave the boy enough coins to pay for the cheese. "Yes, father, I know the one. It's my favorite," said Euphrosynos. At the cheese store in the village, Euphrosynos approached the counter. The cheesemonger bellowed in a loud voice, "Yes, boy, what will you take today?" All the cheeses in the store, however, dazzled Euphrosynos. He had never seen such a variety of shapes, sizes, colors, and smells. "Cheese, please, sir," was all Euphrosynos could muster as he put his coins on the counter. "That is what we have here indeed, cheese. But what kind of cheese would you like, boy?" asked the cheesemonger, who was beginning to lose his patience. Euphrosynos heard more customers filling the store, waiting in a line behind him to buy their cheese and yogurt. But Euphrosynos realized he had forgotten the name of his favorite cheese. He looked at all the cheeses on display, hoping to recognize the one he came to buy, but he could not. He felt more confused than ever. All the cheeses began to look the same. There were so many. "Well, boy, is this some sort of joke?" thundered the cheesemonger. "What's the problem?" shouted an irritated customer in line behind Euphrosynos. "Are you buying cheese or aren't you?" griped another. "What an idiot! He's just standing there," complained another. Euphrosynos felt a cold panic take hold of him. He could not speak. His body froze where he stood. He felt his face redden in embarrassment. "Foolish boy, get out of my store!" yelled the cheesemonger. Euphrosynos heard cackles of laughter all around him. Some of the other children of the village had gathered around, and they were laughing at him too. Euphrosynos ran out of the store and felt tiny stones shower his back. With the villagers' jeers bursting in his ears, he ran all the way home. Tears tumbled down his cheeks as he told his father what had happened. "It's all my fault, father. I forgot the name of the cheese, and then I felt so ashamed. I am so stupid, so very stupid," Euphrosynos said, shaking his head in misery. "You're not stupid, my son," his father said, taking his small hand in his big one. "God has given each of us different strengths and weaknesses. You must not be afraid of the world, Euphrosynos. We must all live on God's earth together. For this reason he has made each of us different. Your strengths lie elsewhere in your pure heart." Euphrosynos hugged his father, but the pain he felt did not go away. When he grew up, Euphrosynos' brother decided to marry. His father gave him half the family farm as a wedding gift. "It is all I have to give you, my son, and you greatly deserve it." Euphrosynos insisted that his brother be given his share as well. "But why?" asked his father. "One day you too will marry and have your own family, and you must have a farm of your own as well." "Father," said Euphrosynos, "I thank you for this great gift you wish to give me, but I do not want to manage my own property. My brother has good ideas to improve the farm. He will be a great success. I am not a clever man, and have no such desires, and it would pain me to deprive my brother of all that he could have. As for me, I would like to live a simpler life somewhere else, and I know God will help me to find it." His brother thanked him for his great gift. After his brother married and took over the farm, Euphrosynos felt it was the right time for him to strike out on his own. With tears in her eyes and a brave smile on her lips, his mother said to him, "You are my delight, my dearest son, and that is why I named you Euphrosynos, which means cheery or merry. Now it is time for you to find your own happiness wherever that may be." His mother gave him a small icon of the Theotokos, the Virgin Mary, to keep him safe and remind him of her love. He said his goodbyes to his beloved family and left. Euphrosynos prayed for the Lord to lead him along the right way as he followed different paths through the valleys and the mountains. He met many people who hired him to work on their farms, and they gave him food to eat and a place to sleep at night. One very hot afternoon, tired after a difficult walk, he was relieved to see a village up ahead. He stopped at the fountain in the square for a rest and a drink of water. Euphrosynos sat on the stone pavement and whispered a prayer of thanks to the Lord for the village and the cool, refreshing water of the fountain. 3 men dressed in brightly colored robes were gathered around the fountain as well. Euphrosynos overheard them talking excitedly about a special place from which they had just returned. How uplifting it was! How at peace I feel! I'm a different person, truly I am. "Excuse me, good sirs," said Euphrosynos as politely as he knew how. "May I ask how I can get to this place?" "Dear boy, we are talking about the monasteries of Mount Athos. We have just spent many weeks there as pilgrims." "Pilgrims?" "Those who seek to be closer to God and His peace, away from the busy, everyday world," replied one of the gentlemen pilgrims. "Tell me, please, where this place is, so that I too may be closer to God and His peace," begged Euphrosynos. The pilgrims drew Euphrosynos a map in the sand, and went over the directions with him many times to make sure he understood where to go. They gave him a small loaf of bread to keep him strong on his journey. Euphrosynos thanked the kind pilgrims and set off. Euphrosynos found Mount Athos 3 days later. In this one region there were many monasteries. No villages, no busy towns, only houses of the Lord where men lived and worked together, each dedicating his life to God. Euphrosynos felt a bubble of joy rise in his heart. He knew this was where God meant him to be. Euphrosynos visited several monasteries. He saw how the monks painted beautiful icons on wood to decorate churches, and on paper to illustrate marvelous holy books. He saw others reading from holy manuscripts and taking notes. Euphrosynos was filled with great admiration for these sacred talents the monks possessed, but he also felt anxious, for he had none of these skills. Would a monastery accept him even though he was not clever? One day he visited a monastery where he saw workers threshing wheat in the fields. He joined in and helped with the harvesting. He sang as he worked, and the other monks smiled at him and sang with him. Once the sun began to set, and the work was finished, he said a prayer of thanks to the Lord for his day, and the beautiful wheat fields of the monastery, and with his right hand he made the sign of the cross on his chest. One monk approached him and asked him to return to the monastery with the others for dinner. "You are a hard worker, my son," said the monk. "The Lord helps me in all that I do, Father. I ask His blessing as I work, and thank Him when I am done. And I know He is with me. He brought me here to help you with your fields today, did He not?" "Yes, my son, and you have been a great help," agreed the monk. "I would like to keep helping, Father. I am no scholar, not very smart, and not worthy to be here. But if I could be of service in the fields or at some other job, perhaps I could stay with you. My son, we were all meant to serve. I am the abbot of this monastery, its spiritual leader, and yet I do my part and work for the good of our monastery in any way I can." Euphrosynos was very surprised. This considerate, gentle man who worked by his side all day long was the leader of the monastery. "But to work out here in the fields all day long, your grace?" asked Euphrosynos with respect. "Such work is not for a great leader, a man touched by the Holy Spirit such as you, but for someone like me who is meant for hard labor." "In the eyes of the Lord, my son, each of us is special, and each one of us is equal. Only we make the differences between ourselves an obstacle. You are welcome to stay with us. Although we do not need more workers for our small farm, we do need a cook for our kitchen. Our cook is old and much too tired for such work. Would you cook for us?" Euphrosynos was thrilled. He immediately accepted the offer and went back to the monastery for dinner with the kind abbot. There the abbot introduced him to the old cook, and Euphrosynos began helping him right away by cleaning up the dishes. "I am glad you are here, Euphrosynos," said the old cook. "My hands ache with pains, and I can no longer use them to work." "Now you will rest, cook," said Euphrosynos. Euphrosynos eagerly attended to his duties. He cleaned all the vegetables and prepared them just as Cook told him. Cook showed him how to make stewed okra, bean soups, grilled fish, rice pilaf, boiled dandelion greens, and tomato salads. With every new recipe, Euphrosynos mastered. With every pan, baking dish, and mixing spoon he scrubbed, with every apple and pear and potato he peeled, and with every carrot he chopped, Euphrosynos sang the hymns he had sung in the fields. Although he missed working outside in the fresh air and sun, Euphrosynos realized the great importance of cooking. With God's blessing and guidance, he was helping to transform the bounty of the Lord's earth into wholesome nourishment for the monks. As he picked carrots from the garden for the evening soup, he admired their deep orange color. He took a cracking bite of a carrot and was surprised by its rich sweetness. "That is a good carrot, Lord," he exclaimed heavenward. Euphrosynos felt the pilgrim's peace. He had found a place where he belonged. Well, boys and girls, we need to close our book for today and take up the next part of the book in next week's program. You've been listening to a reading of The Boy, a Kitchen, and His Cave by Catherine Gondopoulos, illustrated by Chrysanth Green-Gross, published by St. Vladimir's Seminary Press.
You've been listening to Readings from Under the Grapevine with Dr. Chrissy Hart. Dr. Hart is a chartered clinical psychologist from England, now living in York, Pennsylvania with her husband and 2 children. We hope you'll be listening each week to our program, but that you'll also subscribe to the free podcast available on our website. You can also access Chrissy's own website when you go to ancientfaithradio.com and click on Under the Grapevine. Readings from Under the Grapevine is made possible by your generous contributions to Ancient Faith Radio.